Three passions, simple but overwhelmingly strong, have governed my life. The longing for love, the search for knowledge, an unbearable pity for the suffering of mankind. Could the man with whom I discuss the state of our world be described as the greatest intellectual of the 20th century, or the most quoted person of our time, or a courageous warrior against injustice and against the ravishment of billions of defenseless men, women and children all over the world? He could, of course, but he would not appreciate grand words and celebratory slogans.
No, between 50 and 55 million people have died all over the world as a result of Western colonialism and neo-colonialism since the end of the Second World War in 1945.
To me, Noam Chomsky is a man who also loves roses, who enjoys a good glass of wine, and who can speak with great warmth and tenderness about the past, about the people who crossed his path in so many places of our planet, a man who knows how to ask questions and who then attentively listens to answers. A very kind person, a caring human being, and a dear friend.
Well, I think, unfortunately, there are competitions with greatest genocide.
I have been witnessing already the disappearance of several countries in what is called South Pacific, otherwise known as Oceania. There several islands or several atolls are already becoming uninhabitable. Popular press says that they are sinking. They are actually not sinking. There is a tidal wave that goes over the atolls and they destroy all the vegetation. They basically make these islands uninhabitable.
George Orwell had a term for it. These are unpeople. The world is divided into people like us and unpeople. Everyone else who doesn't matter. He was talking about a future totalitarian society, but it applies quite well to us. There's a fine young British diplomatic historian who uses the term unpeople in his study of the post-Second World War.
It appears that it's much more difficult for local people to point the finger and say this is exactly what is happening and this is who our enemy is. However, it is colonialism.
Yeah, it's harder to take, say, Eastern Congo, where probably the worst atrocities in the world in the last couple of years. 3, 4, or 5 million people may have been killed. And who do you point the finger at? They're being killed by militias. But behind the militias are multinational corporations and governments, but they're stage removed. You don't see the multinational corporations that are using the militias to slaughter people so that they can get access to the coltan that Westerners use in their cell phones. Some are quite direct. So take, say, Vietnam, which is the worst crime since the Second World War. It's not just Vietnam. I mean, it went on to Laos, especially northern Laos, on to Cambodia. There's much talk about Cambodia and Pol Pot, terrible, but virtually nothing about what led up to it. I mean, in the early 70s, as you know, the United States Air Force bombed rural Cambodia at the level of all Allied air operations in the Pacific in World War II.
Of course. And then connecting all this, as you mentioned very correctly, about Congo and Rwanda. I'm just finishing 2.5 hours film where I'm trying to rewrite the official narration or narrative on 1994 in Rwanda, because the investigation that I did for 3 years led me to believe that actually the Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, was receiving full support from the United States already long before 1994.
As you know, Rwanda is very much involved in the massacres in eastern Congo now.
But of course,
with US.
yes, both Rwanda and Uganda and our good old friend Museveni. Cynical tongues in East Africa talk about South Sudan as a gift, reward to Museveni for his good work on our behalf. But in Congo we are talking about, actually, I was filming in Washington last year, and one of the presidential candidates, then Ben Kalala, told me that we are talking about 6 million to 8 million people.
Really?
Yeah.
So what is the world waiting for? Is 6 million death toll in a Congo, is it enough to attract the world attention?
He said, look, in Rwanda about 800,000 people died, and he said, quote, unquote, he said, I feel for them because they are human beings, but the whole world is talking about 1994 genocide. He said, in Congo we have 6 to 8 million people.
Just in the last few years.
Just in the last few years.